Hi there. This is my explanation of the Objective 7 to gain knowledge on specifying learning outcomes, planning effective instruction, and measuring student progress. The topics in this were creating positive learning environments, dealing with discipline, communication, standardized tests, essays, portfolio, authentic, informal, and formal assessments. Again, creating a positive learning environment. One of the keys is to have effective rules and procedures in place. So things like how materials are going to be handed out and collected. When can students leave the classroom? How do they get your attention? Things like that. Routines for handling laptops or other types of specialized equipment. And this stuff is generally not written down. There's you've got administrative routines for taking attendance, student movement, like I mentioned before, getting up, moving around the classroom, going to the bathroom, etc. Housekeeping, picking up, throwing stuff away, keeping desk chairs and whatnot pushed in. The lesson routines, transitions from one lesson into the next lesson, morning work, coming in, sitting down, getting started, on something that's written up on the board. When students can talk among each other, things like that. And generally, these are, like I said, these are not written down or not posted anywhere like rules are now. The rules for the classroom should be posted visibly. The students need to be able to see them. You'll be referring to these for sure during the first several weeks of school, getting everyone used to what the rules are, what's expected of them. You'll be going over these procedures also like that. But elementary school rules are generally, they're pretty simple. Respect and be polite to people would be a rule. You need to make this clear what that means so the students understand. No shoving and pushing people. Say please and thank you, excuse me. No name calling or teasing, things like that. Being prompt and prepared, like I mentioned, having, coming in, sitting down, doing your morning work, having your daily folder with you, so you have everything, I'm going to create a B-book, which is bring everything every day, and it's a 3-ring binder with a take-home folder in it and everything, and it's got the rules, and that is with you every day. It goes home with you every night, and it comes home back to school with you every day. So, to listen quietly while others are talking and obey all of the school rules, and all of the classroom rules and school rules, which, when you're writing your classroom rules, you need to know what the school rules are because they need to be aligned with the school rules. Just to have consistency there, and the students need to understand that school rules translate over into classroom rules. They are also classroom rules. These rules should be positive, like respect and be polite to others, obey the school rules. But you can't just have rules. You have to have rules, but you also have to have consequences. When you're writing out your rules, don't just make a rule and then when if it gets broken, you have to know what to do, and the students need to know what the consequences of breaking the rules are. So you have to have your consequences. In order to have an effective classroom, they're set up in an orderly fashion from the first day, name tags on the desk. I mentioned, daily assignments on the board. They, with instructions, they need to come in, know what they need to do. The first few weeks, you'll develop all these rules and procedures so that everyone understands them. You can the tasks you completing tasks, if they're authentic tasks, with real life connections, the students will relate to them more and find them more interesting. Prevention of problems is, the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, is a true statement. If you can prevent, things from going wrong, chaos from ensuing, that's fine. You also need to know how to handle it if it does happen, but, just to be able to prevent it in the first place is essential. You need to have a caring relationship with your students. Students generally have respect for teachers who are firm but fair. So you need to develop a sense of community and trust in your classroom, and that community and trust that will help with things like bullying and everything. If students interact and get along and treat each other with respect, it will go a long way. Dealing with discipline, our next topic. Stop problems quickly. If they do arise, end it as soon as you possibly can. As your students get to know you and you know them, you'll learn things like, make some eye contact with them. Just give them a look. Like a dad gives their kids a look. It's like that look. It's like, okay, they know they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and so that should calm down. If that doesn't work, if they're answering questions out of turn, drop their name, say, oh, it's like I thought I heard Ian's voice, but I must be hearing things because his hand wasn't raised and I hadn't called on him. So, if that doesn't work, you can ask the student, if they're aware of how their actions affect other students. There's at an internship last semester, they did a lot of iMessages in this classroom, and it worked really well. These students, they'd be like, I'd like to send Tyreek an iMessage, and so she would go over and say to him how she felt, what he did made her feel a certain way, and a lot of conflicts and hurt feelings were corrected using that. You may have to remind students of procedures, or ask the student to state what the correct procedure is, and if they do state the correct procedure, you can go on to the 3 questions. What are you doing? Is it against the rules? Should you be doing it? And if they know what they're supposed to be doing, they know their answers, and if they're playing with a toy or something like that, they know, and that may be something you have to do too. If they've got something out they don't need, during lessons, quietly take it. It doesn't need to be a big scene, or a simple finger on their desk to get them back on track. You may just flat out have to tell them to stop misbehaving if they're getting out of hand, or offer them a choice. Say, Ian, either you raise your hand and let me call on you to answer the questions, or I'm going to have to move you to the back of the classroom and so you can't answer. It's your choice. It's up to you. Communication is essential. Being an empathetic listener. When a student comes with you with a problem, take it seriously and take their emotions into account, because they will know if you don't, and it's a terrible feeling to feel like you have no choice or no say, or what you feel like no one cares. And so be very cautious in how you respond. This includes body language, because you can say one thing and your body's saying something else, and we all witness it as people. So kids pick up on it too. They'll know if you really mean it or not. let's move on to standardized tests. These rank students nationally at where they are, with all other the students in their grade. These things are laid out on a bell curve as far as the results go, which the mean, median, mode are the same in these, and so there's equal amounts on the right side as there is the left side, and there is and it looks like a bell because most of the scores are in the middle, and then there of course is a fine little line of very, very low scores all the way up to very, very high scores. So that's where it gets its bell shape from. And then there will be a standard deviation off that center line either way that gives you the range of what is acceptable or unacceptable, or above average or below average. Essay questions or essay tests are difficult to write and difficult tests to do. It's probably the best way to determine the student's content knowledge. The questions should be clear and precise tasks that students understand. They should be able to know exactly how extensively they need to answer the question so they can gauge the amount of time that it's going to take them. And you can do this easily by providing them with the grading rubric, so they can actually look at it and they see, okay, I'll get if I answer it this much, I get a 1, this much I get a 2. It's like, I want a 4, so I need to answer this, and this. And so that's just an easy way to take care of that. Then there's no question, they understand completely what they need to do. Evaluating, again, a clear scoring criteria or rubric. Write your questions with this rubric, and you should have no problem because it's all laid out there. There's two types of portfolios: process and best work. Process is a documentation rather of progress and learning, and often teachers will keep these. I've seen these at our parent-teacher conferences and things. They'll show this was his work at the beginning of the year, and here it is now. Look, his handwriting has improved this much, and it's just to show you progress throughout the year. And then there's best work, and that's what it is. Best work. These are final products, final accomplishments. The best work they did, the final draft of their project they worked on, etc. Authentic assessments. These are things that apply skills into the real world skills. For instance, you're working on area, and they need to figure out you're going to retile the classroom. So how many tiles is it going to take to retile the area of the classroom? It's something, make it realistic, something that they can wrap their mind around and realize that it's not just numbers on paper. It's something they can use. Informal assessments. These are formative assessments. Basically, they provide feedback, but they're not graded. They're a tool used to see where you're at and learn from to prepare for the formal assessment, which is your summative assessment, which assesses your knowledge, which you've actually learned through the unit. So that's your informal assessments provide feedback and part of the learning process, and then your formative assessment is your summative assessment assesses your achievement at the end, what you learned and what you could answer correctly. So that puts us at the end here. We've talked about creating positive learning environments, dealing with discipline, communication, standardized tests, essays, portfolios, authentic, informal, and formal assessments. So I hope you enjoyed my final video.